I can hear you. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Miss Ehi, coming live from Mobile, Alabama, with tonight's episode of Journey with Trish, and I'm so excited about tonight's episode. Please take this opportunity to like, comment, follow, share, do all the things that we need you to do so that we can spread this message to as many people as possible. Listen, it's very important tonight before I get started. We got two things. We got our medical disclaimer, which is I am not your psychiatric provider tonight. If you're having any type of psychiatric or medical emergency, I would defer you to your nearest emergency room or contact your own primary care or psychiatric provider or dial 911. Okay. Second trigger warning. Tonight's episode does contain some triggers. Those triggers are going to be domestic violence. It's going to be some recounts of childhood sexual abuse. It's going to be some recounts of adult rape. As such, this may not be the episode for you, and I totally understand. If you know somebody who would benefit from it, we would ask you that you would share this with them. But we appreciate you not watching it if you know it's something that you cannot um, tolerate right now. Let me go ahead and introduce you to first we have my co-host for this evening, Miss Shay.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. I haven't seen you since when?
Oh, a few days.
It's been a few days. You've been caught. You came 2 times though. 2 times compared to every 2-3 weeks, like you do to live right around the corner.
Well, my sister told me you were cooking, so
I've been tearing it up, girl. Your mama been throwing down. This is my oldest daughter, Shamaya, who is gonna join me tonight as a co-host. But additionally, the reason I wanted Shamaya to come on tonight is because she has also experienced some domestic violence before, and we're going to be honest about that tonight.
Yes, we are.
And then also, I have been very forthcoming in, sometimes I think I try to downplay, I kind of shrink and downplay what I went through because it seems so minuscule compared to what I have seen other women go through. But I don't know how you feel about that, having been the one, the child that lived in the home and witnessed it. So that's kind of what I wanted you to, speak on tonight. So I'm gonna let you interview me some tonight. Okay. And then over here to our right, who do we have?
I am Hope Matriarch Owens, formerly known as Jacqueline Allen.
Okay.
Hey, Miss Hope.
Miss Owens. I am gonna finish introducing Miss Owens, okay? So a couple months ago, I got an inbox and it was you.
Yes.
And you told me that you had written a book of testimonials and that you would like for me to read it. And, maybe after I read it, you can come on the podcast. So I said, okay. All right. So, I'd be busy and I didn't get to read it as soon as I thought I would, but I knew I was going on a vacation. So I specifically saved it for a vacation. And I got on the plane. First, it was to New York. And man, am I so glad. Because, God, he be knowing what he be doing. I am so glad that when I picked it up, I don't know, for whatever reason, I put it back down and I didn't read it on my way to New York. And I'm glad I didn't because it wasn't what I thought it was. Okay. Even though you told me testimonials, it said spiritual tea for the soul. And I guess I just didn't pay attention that much to the bottom title, what you call it, the subtitle. I was expecting, girl, some positive affirmations, something to get me through the day. I was like, all right. Some journaling. I was not expecting what I got when I started reading this. And I'm glad New York is where I experienced my trauma. So I'm glad. I would not have probably been able to enjoy my trip the way I did had I read this book before I went. But being able, to relax after, because I had to process. I did. And I'll tell anybody, when you do pick up this book, and I want you to, it's called Spiritual Tea. And we'll give you an opportunity to tell them how, where they can purchase it. But it's called Spiritual Tea for the Soul, Testimonies of Pain, Passion, and Purpose. If you've experienced any type of domestic violence or sexual abuse, it's definitely a must read. Not a must read. I know I'm talking too much. I feel like I'm taking over the interview, but I'm just so excited about this book. It's not a must read out of pure nosiness. Let's start there. Because when I first started reading, I'm like, oh, girl, oh, my goodness. Oh, wow. And then I kept reading it. And then I'm like, oh, wow. So you're going to start reading it out of pure nosiness. But if you don't get something out of this book, even if it's to go and sit down and talk to somebody about what you've been through, even it's learning that we do go through things, sometimes for purpose. So first I want to talk to you. You said that your name was formerly. So tell me your former name and about this name change.
Okay, so yes, I was born Jacqueline Allen, but it carries so much pain behind it. I wanted to become who God created me to be in my heart. So hope comes from what I've always had growing up. Even though I was going through trials and tribulations, I always kept my hope alive and thinking that it has to be something better out here for me. So also the way I spell it, HOEP, the culture and who I am has always considered me to be a hoe. So I spelt it that way to take my power back because in my heart, I never was that. That's what was projected on me. So I just took it back and I wanted to make something positive out of it. I was never hoeing. I was always hoping that men would be who they said they were when they came into my life, but they just weren't. So HOEP for the Christian part of it is Heart of Esther and Paul. I carry both of those where Esther used her beauty in the Bible where you talk about how she did it. You have to go to the Bible. I don't want to get too much into that. And then Paul, how he preached the goodness of God. And that's what made me go further into who I am now.
I'm telling you, when I tell you we are so similar because Hija de Jimenez, that name was created because of all the trials and the trauma that Trish, you know, went through. And so I felt like in order for me to get myself and my life together, I had to remind myself because I lost both of my parents. And so Hija de Jimenez means daughter of Jimmy and Inez. And so that was my reminder, of where I came from, all the stuff, the person that you were and all the cursing out that Trish, because Trish cursed out a lot of people, Trish was at one point, very promiscuous. There was a lot to Trish. But at one point for me though, and it was Shemaya, because this was going to be Journey with Iha. And Shemaya said, "No, I think I gave you like a list of different names, right?"
And you were like, which one should I call myself? What's my name gonna be?
And why did you remember why you said Journey with, you said Trish?
Trish. I said Trish because, and first of all, let me say, Miss Hope, I do appreciate that. I think that's very insightful in terms of why you changed your name. I feel like, you gave the disclaimer like I was formerly known as, Miss Jacqueline. So I feel like Jacqueline will always be a part of you, but that Hope just gives, again, insight into who I am becoming, and who I'm going to continue to strive to be. So as far as you and, you have Miss Iha, I think even Kristen and Treasure sometimes joke about it. Patricia, Pat, Trish, Iha. Okay, Hija. Hello. You know what I mean?
Somebody answer.
Somebody answer, right. But I definitely wanted you to say, like, let's keep Trish, because it definitely reminds you of, where you came from. And I remember being younger, I was talking to you and I was mad because you wouldn't do something for me. And I'm like, oh, you just forgot where you came from. And you said, no, ma'am. The thing is, I will never forget where I came from. I want you to take me back to that place. So I do feel like having those names, but never forgetting who Trish was, will always be a reminder of who I am and who you're not going to try to prevent me from becoming. Does that make sense? So, hey, Miss Trish.
Hey, Miss Trish.
All right. So I want to get into, we're going to get into it tonight, y'all. I'm going to remind you one more time that this is an episode on domestic violence. And so that is where we're going to start. Okay. If everybody hasn't already taken the opportunity to comment, share, and, get involved so we can have some interactions up so we can get this out to more people. Tell me about your childhood, the abuse that you witnessed first as a child.
Well, it started in my home. The first time I seen it was my dad, and he slapped my mom. And I remember her calling the police, and I have always been outspoken. But when I got ready to say something on this day, because my mama, she was kind of holding back on telling the police what really happened. And I was finna get ready to be like, and finna tell on my dad. But he gave me this look of death, like, if you
Don't
say
you dare.
anything, I'm a you know. So I was just thinking like, oh my God. So I kind of held back, and I think that was the first time that it made me feel like maybe it's okay. And these are things that happen in the family, and it kind of made it my norm. So that's how it started in the house for me, and it was miserable
In the
watching
house?
it. Mhm.
Okay. Now you said that it was miserable watching it, right? But that was your biological father.
My biological father.
And how did you feel about your father?
He was everything to me. He's a great dad, great dad. And when I saw that happen for the first time, it kind of made me, I gained this a little bit of hatred because I love my mom so much, of course, but then at the same time, it's like I was a daddy's girl. So I didn't want to stay mad at my dad. So I just had to kind of put it out of my head. And like I said, I just made it the norm. Like, okay, they fight, you know, and then that was just it. I just let it go.
And it doesn't make you, because at the end of the day, that's still your dad.
It's still my dad.
Do you remember how old you were during that time?
I think I was 7 when that first happened. 7 years old when I first saw it.
I feel like being 7, you really don't, like you said, you don't know how to process things. You're still kind of trying to find your way. So that must have been hard to.
It was very, very hard. Very, very hard.
And so then before I move to you, and I ain't gonna lie, I got little butterflies in my stomach because we haven't discussed this. We haven't discussed this ahead of time. And let me go ahead and put this out there. Another reason why I don't like to talk about domestic abuse in my household is because I don't want to make anybody think that it is okay to stay in domestic violence relationships, And I tell people all the time, when you get out of those relationships, don't be, what was it, Ruth that turned around and turned into a pillar? So, don't turn around. When you get out of it, stay out of it. And so you grew up in a home with me and your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and your dad, we did end up separating, and we got a divorce. But I did turn back. I did go back to, and there's a, there, for my own reasons, I'm not being a hypocrite. But once we did work out, some things, and I got some counseling, and we have gone to counseling together, we were able to work on it. My husband has a lot of childhood trauma. My husband grew up in an abusive household. And so sometimes, which is why I want to go over you, sometimes what we see, what we do is what we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men, no, they don't like it, and they don't like to see their parents, or even, girls, we don't like to see our parents fighting or arguing. But sometimes even when you don't like it, it becomes so much a part of you that when you grow up and you become an adult, you go back to that childhood, and that's what you saw. And so now that's what you do, is what you saw.
Yep.
And until you can face that and go get some help for that, then I don't think you need to be in a relationship with anybody. But I got to be honest when it comes to that right there, because I do not want anybody to think that I am condoning anybody staying in or going back to a situation that is saturated in domestic violence, because it is not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that, yes, I did go back. It was after, though, that was addressed. Okay?
Okay.
Do you agree with us? Did I just lie about anything?
No. I do agree, and I feel like sometimes, what do they say? The absence makes the heart grow fonder, or you don't realize what you have until it's gone. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I feel like you have to separate and figure out who you are, because when you bring in all these traumas to the table, you are going to essentially damage each other. Mm-hmm. I was watching a podcast a while ago, and it was like marriage is like both of y'all bring in 2 big piles of, excuse my language, shit, like literally poop, right?
I said I was going to bring the square jar tonight. I knew I should have brought it.
ain't ain't got no money right now. I'm so sorry, y'all. But you're both bringing two big piles of poop and two big gigantic trash bags, and you're wanting to build a house, right? But before you can build a house, you have to have a foundation. So both of y'all bring your poop bags and you dump them out, and that is your foundation. And now y'all got
Oh wow, this is good.
y'all have to get in there and lay it out, and it's like you don't want to be splashed with my poop, and I don't want to be splashed with your poop, but it happens, right? And so now we're trying to figure out how we're going to sort this poop out so it can be a healthy foundation, essentially a healthy marriage. And it does take time,
Yeah.
and sometimes you got to just stop building the house, maybe because you done went broke, hypothetically. You got to stop building it and just come back when things are a little bit better. So I do appreciate that you guys got to the point where you said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're not going to do this no more. Let's part ways. And I do feel like when y'all did come back, things were so much better. Things were so much better.
I do wish that everybody would get it fixed first, though, before you ever come together, and lay down that foundation. I think that separately, you need to work on your own foundation, target your own trauma, deal with that, and then come together, especially when you bring children into it. So tell me what life was like you heard me, I posted the other day, in our house where love died, because in that first house, and you actually live in that house now.
Mm-hmm.
Your daddy hates coming. He hates looking at the house. He don't want to drive by it, walk in it, nothing, because of all that happened
In the house. So first of all, I want to go back a little bit and pick it back off of what you said in terms of you do want to try to address those traumas before you get into a relationship. So I was with this guy in a relationship with him. And at some point he asked me, am I going to have to pay for all that you've been through and for what your ex put you through? And I was like, yeah, you're here to fix me. Don't you love me? And he was like, well, I don't think I should have to pay for that. And so at the time I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't you? You're my partner. This is what you're here for. Build me, help me. You know what I mean? But as I grew, I realized that is not his responsibility. It is my responsibility to make Shemaiah better. It is my responsibility to address those issues and address those traumas before I hurt somebody else, because hurt people. But back to your question, I did not realize how growing up in that environment affected me until I started to get into relationships. I know one thing that I always say I remember is when you and dad will argue, it just seems like all heck would break loose. Trying to not put no money in the swear jar. It seems like all heck would break loose. And at the time, you were screaming, he was screaming, y'all typically did not curse around us. Well, me at the time, because the younger ones weren't born just yet. But y'all never cursed around me. But when you got mad, it's like, now I'm scared because I'm not used to hearing those curse words. And so now that you're cursing, something must really be wrong, Fast forward, I know that y'all would be arguing and he might be drinking and it would just kind of escalate. And then what he would do is he would pack up his bags and he would storm off and then he would leave. And I'm like, oh, no, Dad, don't go. And you're at the door like, yeah, bye. I'm worried about you, And I feel like what that created in me down the road is like a fear of abandonment, because it was like, even though I knew I didn't want to be in certain relationships with certain people, I was afraid that they would leave and not come back, because I remember as a child watching him leave and speed off. Like, is he going to come back this time? And it happened, it happened a few times. And so I definitely did struggle with that. So that was one thing. Again, back to the cursing, I feel like it became common when you guys were arguing about things. And then sometimes it seems like you guys argued more than you were happy. And so eventually when I got into my own adult relationships, I felt like you're supposed to argue, If I raise my voice, it's okay. Go in the other room and shut up. But who's going to sit there and keep dealing with that,
I used to tell you what I used to tell you, because I used to have to holler at you, it seemed like. And I was like, you know what? It's a shame. You're going to need, if somebody's not hollering and screaming at you, you're not going to think they love you.
Yeah. And that, it's like when you say that, I'm like, that's not true. But when I think about it, it's like, oh, God, that's kind of true. But it just goes to show, back to what you were saying earlier, when you grow up in an environment, it becomes normal. It becomes like, this is what's supposed to happen. And if you don't do this, then you must not love me. So it's unfortunate, but you just have to grow.
Then before we get back to her, one question. If you had the control back when you were younger, for us to stay together the way we were or separate, which one would you have preferred?
As a child, stay. as a as a
Like
child.
okay.
As an
Makes
adult, I am so glad that y'all separated.
Mm.
As a
Okay.
child, going back to what you said, I love my mama, but I love my daddy too.
Mhm.
I see how toxic it is, but don't leave. Like,
Right.
just be better, but don't leave. Even though it was bad, it's like, don't leave. So, yes, as a child in my childlike mind, yeah, please don't leave. Like, whatever.
I got you.
But as an adult, so, and how do I want you to tell me, you go back to that time. Tell me how you were feeling during that time.
How I felt in that time.
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking is, did you grow up in an environment with your parents where it was not a healthy marriage, or did you have family members around that were healthy? At what point?
I really don't remember being subjected to even. I'm sure I probably have some family members that maybe I didn't know about, but I don't. Yeah, and my parents, other than an argument every now and then, no. I grew up in a pretty happy home with nothing. My first uh when I first experienced domestic violence, it was with a boyfriend, who I was, where I wasn't supposed to be, and we had actually broke up. Wasn't where I was supposed to be. I was talking to somebody else, but it was in the same building. He happened to be, they was friends, and he came down into the apartment and he saw me down there and he pulls a gun out on me. And he threatened to shoot me if I said anything. I will shoot you in your effing kneecaps, both of them. And so I remember sitting there. I wasn't worried about my kneecaps.
Oh my
I was worried about what in the H am I going to tell my mama? Because I ain't got no business
Mhm.
being here where I am right now. And I think I was 14. I hadn't moved yet, so I was probably still 14, maybe had turned 15. He was probably 19 or 20,
Mm.
you know? So here I was, a child with this grown man
Yeah.
I didn't have any business talking to anyway. And now he threatened to shoot me in my kneecaps for somebody that's actually my age that I'm talking to. So that was really my first experience. And then I didn't experience it again till I moved here to Alabama. I think I was like 17, 18 years old, and I started dating somebody here in Alabama, and they, came from an environment of domestic violence. And yeah, it was always a lot of, cursing and screaming. But I remember, I always like things, I always like brand name things. And even though my daddy would buy me, or my mama, whatever brand name things I want, which is why, I still wonder about that. Why I stayed with this man, because he told me he was going to buy me. That's when Dooney and Burks were popular. He told me he was going to buy me a Dooney and Burke for my birthday. So I stayed with him to my birthday. I'm going to stay. I'm going to make it to my birthday so I can get this purse, and then I'm out.
Mm.
And I remember us walking in Dillard's, and I was showing him the purse. And I don't know what I said, but all I remember was him taking his hands and putting them around my neck in Dillard's.
Mm.
And people are walking around, but I don't understand why they don't understand what's going on. But he was like, "I dare you to move." And I think back to, what could he, like, how far would he have really gone in a store with all these people? But I stood my A there, and I did not move,
Right.
because I did not know what he was actually capable of doing in that moment.
Mhm.
And so that was, my second. And then it wasn't again until with your dad. I always try to, I don't try to downplay it, but he's never hit me. He's never hit me. He's pushed me before. He's taken his hands, and to this day, I ain't wearing no tight collars. I don't want no, and my turtlenecks better be loose. Don't put your hands on my neck,
Mm.
because he would take his hands and he would, like, have me against the cabinet or whatever, and but his hand would just, like, be there, but he wouldn't squeeze, but his hand was there, but it was enough, like it was more than he should have been doing. I'll never forget the last time he did it, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind because we were in the room, and we had this green lamp with a brown chocolate colored shade on it. And he was standing over me, and I told him, "I'm telling you, like, I don't feel like arguing with you. I don't feel like fighting with you today, whatever. Like, get away and leave me alone." Chris would literally blank out. it might sound crazy, but he would literally like dissociate and he would not be himself, you know? And he wouldn't move. And I took that lamp and I like bashed his ass. I got to put money in the swear jar now. In the head with this lamp. And this dude like it was like a movie. He was like what just happened? Like, what you doing? What you mean what I'm doing? He was like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you hit me? And I'm sitting here like, why? What do you mean why I would do it? And like that was when I knew, like, yeah, we really got it. You really need like some help. But baby, I ain't had no problem out of his A since then.
Right.
Period. He got some arrogance, baby. I took a picture of that lamp. I still got the picture of the lamp. I threw away the lamp, but I got the picture. I want to get to you some more because this should have been a 2-hour show. All right. We gotta get to when your dad left. Okay. So well no, let's back up. Let's back up to that day when you let somebody in the house that you weren't supposed to.
Yes. So because of how miserable it was, and my mom was always gone working, dad was always gone working, so me and my sister always had a lot of time at the house. So during that time, I think I was suffering with a lot of self-esteem issues too, because I was dark-skinned, bald-headed. They used to call me black, bald-headed, ugly, when I was younger. So just the thought of somebody giving me a little bit of attention, it felt good to me. So it was a boy in the neighborhood, but he was my sister's boyfriend, but he was very nice to me as well. So we just used to let him come over here and there. But this one particular day, he came over and he brought his brother with him. And his brother was huge. So I remember in this instance him saying something to my sister, her boyfriend, and it was saying that I was too little for the brother. And I don't want to speak my sister's story, but I don't know exactly what she would like me to say, so I'll just leave that. But I know that she went off and I was left with the guy, her boyfriend. And the sexual abuse started. I just remember the pain of him trying to enter inside of me. And I just was crying. And then he stopped because it was just too much. And I don't think he could really get in like that because I was 9 years old at the time when that first happened. And I remember my sister coming out and they left. And me and my sister's relationship it wasn't the same after that. I'll just say that it wasn't the same. I know she seemed like she was different and broken in a way, and I was too. And we couldn't tell my mama, of course, because we weren't supposed to have the boys in the house anyway. So it was no way that I can just come to her and tell her what was going on. What I did try to tell her is that I was bleeding, because I did start bleeding. And she just immediately said, "Oh, girl, that's just your cycle." So I was so scared to tell her anything else. I just went with it. It was my cycle.
Isn't it amazing how, like, when you think back now, you just said, I couldn't tell her. I couldn't tell her, that I had somebody in the house. And I said, I didn't care about my kneecaps, but I couldn't let my mama know I was over there. What can we do to make children? And I've thought about it myself, and I've told y'all before, just always come tell me, but like, what could I have done or said differently? Or how do you think a parent should address that? Or how would you address that with your children? Just to make them so comfortable that no matter what somebody tells you, no matter what I told you not to do, if you get into trouble, I need you to trust me enough to tell me.
Right. I have a conversation with my daughter about a lot of different things. And what I did, which I kept praying to God to give me a way to make her comfortable with me. And it was the book. I gave her the book and I said, just read this book. I didn't even tell her that it was my book at first. And then she was like, oh, this book's so good. So after she got through with it, I was like, that's Mama's story. And I said, I don't want you to go through some of the things that I went through. I know I can't control your life, but I need you to see what happens when you make certain decisions. And I want you to always feel comfortable telling me anything, because for so many years, I was so scared to tell. And then when I decided to, they didn't believe me, because for so long, I had got angry. I was bitter, I was mad, so I was just that angry girl walking around. So everything was my fault. If anything happened, it was, what did you do to make this happen? Or you just a bad child, you know. And it wasn't just coming from my mom, it was everybody around me, because I was always angry because I couldn't let out what my emotions were on the inside. So that's what helped me um bond with my daughter, over trying to get her to see, you got to be comfortable enough to tell me whatever, whenever, however. I don't care. Mama got your back.
That's a really hard question for me because I feel like my mom definitely left the door open and continues to leave the door open. There are things right now that my mom have we have both discussed with each other, and she still wants me to tell her things. But honestly, when I think about why I won't tell her or wouldn't tell her, I'm afraid of what she's gonna do. Like in my mind, especially as a child and even into adulthood, I'm like, she's gonna kill somebody. I don't want her to kill nobody, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like, I mean, and she never came at me in an aggressive manner, like, you better tell me. She always, mommy's your best friend, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know why it has been so hard other than my fear of her going to kill somebody. So I feel like that's a really good question. As far as me and my children, I don't know. It scares me that I might just leave the topic alone with them. Like, okay, you don't want to tell me now, you'll tell me when you get ready. Because sometimes they don't know how to. And so I feel like as far as parenting goes, I feel like there are some things that parents could do to help open that door. But I also think it's a personality trait within the child. Some kids don't care. Mama, come here, I'm gonna tell you, you know what I'm saying? But some kids are like, oh my gosh, I can't say anything. So I do think it has something to do with the kids as well in terms of like walking into that door, even though it is open.
Because it's safe to say that even though we are our children's protectors, our children still feel like they are our protectors
Right.
as well. And at the end of the day, they don't want you to get in any trouble. So you do have to have that conversation. I don't care whether they lead, follow what you tell them or not. Have that conversation with your children, and leave that door open to be able to come and tell you things like that, because it's important that they be able to trust you, and not believe this person that is trying to manipulate them into thinking that it's okay for them to do, what they want, and you're not going to tell, because you're going to now be in more, the child is going to now be in more pain, because now your mom is going to be in trouble, or your dad is going to be in trouble.
Right.
But I got to get here. So tell me about when dad left and then mom brought somebody else in the house.
Okay, so I remember I was in the 5th grade and my mom left him. So we moved across town, and I remember thinking she was happy at first, but the guy drank a lot. So it was really when he drank, when he came in and just really was acting a nut. And I remember saying, well, if you was going to come to this relationship and deal with this, why you just ain't stay with my daddy? That made no sense to me. But it was always her trying to get better. And it's still sums back up to my same story. It's like you're hoping that this person is different, and then they turn out not to be. So that's my mom's story in a way as well. I am my mom, and I'm learning that now, because back in that generation, they didn't speak about things that they went through. It was always quiet. So she never told me a lot of things that she went through. I'm just now starting to learn her story now, which is like,
Can I speak on that? I want to add to that. Going back to your question in terms of that door open, things are always on the hush hush. We're going to act like it never happened. I do feel like if parents were more like, you gave your child that book to read and told her that's mommy's story. That's what happened to me. Let's not let that happen to you. I feel like if parents were more open and say, like, let's talk about this. And I always say, we don't give kids enough credit. Kids are smarter than you think they are. Don't talk to them like a child. Talk to them like they are a young adult, because they are going to become that and are becoming that. So I feel like if parents were more open, because your kids, you know how what happens in this house stays in this house. But if nobody else, you should have those conversations with your children, because not only will it help you, I feel like it will help your child as well. And then I feel like in turn they would be more trusting to talk about those uncomfortable conversations, because we're doing we're doing what the parents do. Well, if y'all don't talk about it, well, I'm talking about my traumas.
right.
So I feel like I'm glad that you said that, because it made me think about that. I think parents should be more open to.
And I think too that it's important to be more open with our children about lifestyle. Don't we can't have that kind of do as I say, not as I do attitude when it comes to children. We can't tell them not to talk to three or four boys like I never did. You know what I'm saying? And so I have this conversation like when I sit down and I talk to my children, and Kristen and I were talking about the other day. I'm very forthcoming in the life that I lived before. I don't pretend to have ever been this,
Saint.
saint,
Right.
wholesome child. I put my parents through it, honey, and baby, these streets these streets knew my name. I'm just gonna be serious
Yeah.
about it. I remember I was telling somebody the other day that one day some guy had walked up to my dad and said, "Hey, I was talking to this guy the other day. He said he know you." Man, my stomach dropped to my
That's
like, whoo,
like, Lord, who you to
so
talk?
you don't talk to man. Don't be telling my daddy you know me. Shoot. So yeah, like I just don't want them, and like just kind of getting off topic a little bit when it seems like when I'm wrapped up in something.
Yeah, the
It seems
cord.
like when black girls, when we just want to date, I'm really wrapped in something. When black girls just want to date, and not be tied into a relationship, then we do get that title of hoe, right? But when they do it on the other side, it's not really considered that. Why do you have to always? I'm not saying you got to be promiscuous and be out here, sleeping
Carelessly.
around like with a bunch of different people. But if we're being truthful and we're being honest, if you out here having sex outside of wedlock, what really is the difference? And whether
Right.
it's one man or two men, you
Right.
still out here doing something you ain't supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Either way, But we got these titles that have been given to women and not men when we lead certain lifestyles.
Right.
And so I just choose to be truthful and honest with my children when I talk to them because I don't want anybody to make them feel like less than what they are. But we got to get on face like this because we got to get to this part. All right.
Okay.
Because this part in the book broke my heart, and it was the part when after that I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Please, like, take a few more circles around the airport so I can finish this book. So your mom moved in somebody else, right?
Yes, we end up moving to across the town, and then her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend.
Yes.
And her boyfriend, you said, drank a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now her boyfriend at some point was inappropriate. Is that right? Am I recalling that correctly?
Not this one. This is the next.
Okay, I want to talk about that one. Let's skip to that one. So your mom brings in another boyfriend, and he touched you or
No.
tell me?
No. Okay, so we're speaking about him pretty much coming on to me
Okay.
in that sense of I was already considered promiscuous, I would say. So I had the body young, so I was always feeling like I was that girl in a way because the boys made me feel like I was. So when she met him, he was a GQ type guy, whatever, good looking or whatever, but I always had this uncomfortable feeling around him. And then one day, I think he may have been on something, I'll just say that. And we gave each other a hug, and it was just like, all right, so what? We gonna do it? And I'm like, what? We gonna do what? You know what I mean? And it's kind of like you said earlier, how they'll be in a moment like it's like a possession or something like that. And then they'll snap back out of it like they don't even remember what they were saying or doing because I guess the response that I gave was caught him off guard because he thinking, oh, she a hoe, she finna give it to me, and I'm not her daddy or whatever the situation was where he thought that he can even approach me like that. But I don't care what you thought, I'm not gonna do my mama like that, in that instance. So that's what happened to that situation. He never touched me or anything. I kind of think my reaction cut that short on that one.
And so who was it when you went and told your dad about this person?
Okay, this is the same person.
Okay.
The same person. So this was when I finally started getting the courage to speak and tell. So it's like, look, he was fighting my mama during this time. This is when the domestic violence really started hitting in this one. And we tried to help my mom on this particular day, and I got hit in the face with a shoe. So I kind of held it to myself for a minute, but then it's like, nah, I'm finna tell my daddy this time. Like, nah, I'm ready to get out of this situation. And my dad came to try to protect me and to speak about it, and he brought a gun. His intentions were to talk to him. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay.
His intentions were to come and I guess maybe just scare him. And it just didn't go that way. I think I remember my mom and them telling me that they said, don't play with that gun, you know, it could go off. And my dad was like, you think I'd be playing with this gun if it was some bullets in it? And he hit the trigger and it was a bullet still left in the chamber, and he shot himself in the face and he became blind. He's still blind right now. And I think that was like the hardest thing for me, because the one time that I lose my daddy, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't lose him like physically in the flesh, he's still here, but I lost the daddy that I knew, because he, at that point when they broke up, my daddy was the best daddy then, you know what I mean? He was happy, he was living his best life. So everything was great.
And so you kind of carried that feeling of guilt around. You
It's
felt
my
like
fault.
well, it was not your fault. Definitely not your fault.
That's how I felt
Okay,
then,
but
I would
listen to
say.
me. You know now that that was not your fault because you were a child then that went to your dad, who is your protector, right?
Right.
And that's what you were supposed to do. And that's exactly what we just said we want for our children to do. Despite what happens, your dad went there to protect you. So,
And that still makes him the best
and that
dad.
still makes him the best
He
dad.
is. He is. He has flaws, yes, but he has always been a great daddy, you know, and he lives with me right now. So it's like, it's my honor to be there for him now and take care of him. But it's so hard. Like, I have to see him every day struggling, you know. It's hard to watch him moving around the house. It's just hard. I'll say that. It's always a constant reminder of what happened every day of my life, and it's like, man, like I can't get away from it.
Have you and him had a conversation about that day?
Yeah, and he told me, you know, he tries to reassure me that it's not my fault, but it don't really make you feel no different on the inside. I'll tell you that.
You have to make you feel different. And we talked about it, you know, you talked about it in the book, and we talked about it on the way in the door, and we talked about it right here, and I see you talking about it on Facebook. So have you sat down and spoken? Like, do you have a therapist?
Yes, yes. So I did start that, and I think that's where my healing came in, and I just knew I needed something different because I got tired of being angry all the time. And I was always set out to hurt people, especially like if somebody tried to judge me. I used to wait on it, like, because I knew I had razor blades in my tongue. Like, I'm ready to spit something. I'm ready to hurt you. I'm ready to call out every flaw that I can think I can say about you. But it was only hurting me even more because I still wasn't expressing what was really wrong with me. You know, life.
And life is gonna always happen, right? But I want you to, if you don't take anything else from me today, take it from somebody who I've already told you. Our stories are so similar. When I was probably maybe 11 or 12 years old, still lived in New York, and my daddy sent me to the store to get him some cigarettes, some Lucky Strikes, $2.10 back then. They let kids, remember they used to let us buy cigarettes back then. And so on the way back from the store, one of his friends, his name was Mr. Haynes. I don't mind calling his name. His name was Mr. Haynes. He was like 80 something years old. And he was drunk, but he was kind of lucky. He was walking, but he was looking over to the side. And so I thought that he was trying to find our house. So I'm like, Mr. Haynes, you looking for my daddy? He was like, no, hey there. How you doing? And I was like, I'm fine. You looking for my daddy? He said, no, I'm looking for you.
Mm.
It's like, okay, what you looking for me for? and he offered me $80.
Mm.
He's gonna give me $80 to come and go home with him to his house that day. Now we were so close to my house, and I didn't realize that we were. When I went after I finally got away from him, so I wasn't going. I went in the house, and my daddy asked me what took me so long to go to the store, and I don't know why. I told him the truth, but I did. Um, I told him that Mr. Haynes was outside, and he wouldn't let me come in the house. He told me he would give me $80 if I went home with him. My daddy had a club that was right across the street, and that's where Mr. Haynes was. So no, I think he did have like a wife beater. And he grabbed his shoes and he put on his penny loafers. I remember. And he walked across the street, and we could hear the arguing because we were right across. We could hear the arguing, but not as loud as I heard the gunshot. And that was when my daddy got shot in his back. So when I tell you our stories are so similar, is because our stories are so similar. No, he's not. He wasn't blinded, and he was still able to recuperate from that. But
He was
I'm never
compromised trying to help
he
you.
was compromised. Yes, what? Yeah, he did that trying to help me, and when I would write it on Facebook when he passed away, I always say like that was my number one protector.
Protect.
That was the man who took a bullet in his back to the grave just for me, and that's what daddies do.
Yeah.
That's what daddies. I don't want you to feel guilty about that because you were a child, and he was protecting you. Okay,
And if he had to,
he would do it again.
Yeah.
He would
I
do it
believe he
again.
would do it again. Maybe not play with the gun.
Mhm.
I wish that he wouldn't have done that because I know he was just in a bad headspace because my brother had just passed away as well in a car accident. So he was in this place of I'm not gonna lose another child, and he was already really reckless,
Mhm.
because he wasn't processing his emotions. So I think that's God had to sit my father down without taking his life because I think it could have been way worse, or he could have been in jail or dead, or he could. So it was like, all right, him shooting himself in the face gave him a chance to get his I ain't gonna say get his life together because he had to restart everything and everything was different. But he had a chance to still be my father, and it was very hard. I felt like he blamed me, for a long time because he was mad, and he didn't. I remember trying to come around, and it was just like a brush off type thing. It felt like all the time. So that's what made me feel like even more it was my fault because it's like I came over there to protect you, and look at me now type feeling. That's how I felt. He never said that to me, but that's just how I felt because he wasn't the same with me, and it hurt. It hurt so bad, and it was a lot of rumors, all the he say she say of in my family. I feel like I got shooed away after that because it was once again my fault. Everybody was trying to put their speculations and stuff on it on what happened and why this happened, and it always came back down to me.
Yeah, in black families, when it comes to stuff like that, we suck. I'm just gonna go. I don't even know a better way to say it, but when it comes to things like this, we like genuinely
are retarded.
suck. We can't say that word.
I'm sorry.
We
We have another
sorry,
jar for just inappropriate.
sorry, that was very inappropriate. But yes, black people, we got to do better when it comes to addressing things. Like when it comes to a child that we feel like is missing, like fast. You know, I always say of all the bad things, I've been called a hoe. I've been
Mhm.
called a B so
Mhm.
many times. None of that has ever affected me as my family members who stood there and called me fast when I was being molested the entire time.
Right, right.
That's what I want you to take with y'all tonight. Okay. You got to figure out why somebody is starting their period, at 7 or 8 years old. Why are they developing so
Mhm.
quickly? Sometimes there's a reason why. And maybe you should do some investigating before you start talking about these children the way that you do. Um, but yeah, I get it. And so now you are taking care of your dad,
Yes.
you said.
Yes, he lives with me, and Lord, it's hard first off living with your parent because they already still feel like they the parent, but it's your house, so it's like you got to set these boundaries and these rules. But it's like I don't have to follow that because I'm the daddy. But it's like no, look, this is my house, so we get into it a lot because our attitudes are the same, and he's stuck in his ways, and then I'm stuck in mine, because now I fought so hard to get where I am. I don't care who you are, you know, you're gonna listen to me, you're gonna respect me because so many times I was by myself. I don't care, my daddy, my mama, my sister, my friends, nobody could help me get out of the state of mind that I was in. I was running from myself. It had nothing to do with nobody else around me. And like you said, calling me names was nothing. It fueled me. It made me like, oh, you gonna call me a hoe? I'm gonna be the best hoe. And then don't be the woman that's judging me or saying something to me because oh, your man was trying to holler at me last week. So guess what? I'm gonna show you that your house ain't that happy either. It just created this beast in me. Like I didn't care about nobody feelings. So every time I heard hoe, oh yeah, okay, well let me show you what it is then, because you don't even know the hurt that's inside of me right now. So those little words are nothing to me. What bothered me was my family not protecting me when I did get in abusive relationships when I started getting older in high school, and I ran to them and they was like, oh no, you can't come down here because he might come down here and burn the house down or something. And I had big boy cousins and they didn't protect me. So that pissed me off because it
So you become like this little girl to like this teenager to this grown woman that's just always walking around looking for somebody to protect you.
yeah. And I think still now to this day, I'm just gonna be honest, still now I'm waiting on somebody that fulfills that protection role. But I have gained this relationship with God to where it's like I'm protected. I've been protected this whole time. That's why I'm still here. And that's why I said I found purpose in my pain now, because now I'm understanding why God had to put me through that, because now I'm becoming and transitioning to this woman to be able to help someone else and talk about my story and stuff like that. And it's hard because so many people try to shame me. They try to remind me of what I was and all this different kind of stuff, which is like, okay, but you stuck in the past. I'm completely different, but it's still painful on the inside, and it'll make me lash out because that's not who I am. That's what I became to survive. And that's what people have to understand. Nobody never wants to just be no hoe. I don't believe that. Nobody wants to go through domestic violence. Nobody wants to get hit. But I became the hitter because I got so scared of who gonna hit me first. I'm finna punch you first because if you come too close to me, this is what it's gonna be. I'm finna let you know I'm already on guard. And so I became the aggressor. And that's even worse because now I'm showing up getting beat up. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking I can take on a man, and no, And sometimes I could because I'd be fast with them licks, doop, doop, doop. But once they pick you up and bounce you or choke you or get that uphold on you, it's done. Now I'm over this mug like, Lord Jesus, let me just get loose. And I won't even hit them no more. God, what was I thinking? But I've had some times where one boyfriend, he used to just tantalize me, hold me down, poke me with knives and stuff. He never would leave bruises or things that people can see, But when I hit him back, he was bright skinned. Everybody saw it. So it was always like, oh, she putting her hands on him and stuff like that. But they didn't know all the things he was doing to me in private, even had raped me, because going into, I don't know if you mind me going into that, when I got raped in college. And once again, me being too friendly to a guy, and I was looking for whatever I was looking for. And I went to his house and he strong on me, and that's a big thing in our community too. We trust our friends and think that we can go around these guys, and these guys automatically got a thing in their head, or oh, she coming over here because she want a FUCK or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm not coming over here for that. But it's like, no, you dress like this, you do that, all that type of stuff. And it's like, he's strong on me. And guess what? I wasn't supposed to be over there. So I couldn't tell my boyfriend that I was over there. So then he ended up coming to the school this particular time, and the guy just was picking and picking and picking. So I had to go ahead and tell him what happened. And he fought me. And when I got home that night, because he put me out at the gas station, he raped me. He was like, you gave my up, now I'm finna take it. And that was like the worst thing for me. The one that's supposed to protect me. Once I'm telling you that this is what's happening, why you feel so uncomfortable and why he's picking with me, I messed up. I went over there. I didn't think this was gonna happen, but he raped me. And instead of him coming to protection mode or believe in me, it was like, nah, you hoe. You know what I mean? And he treated me exactly the way the streets treated me, you know. But I'll say being a hoe never hurt me, you know, in that sense, if that's what the world want to project on me. It always helped me because men always took care of me, you know, in that instance. So I just went with it. But it was the control and the narcissistic behaviors and stuff like that that made me know now I don't really want that type of relationship or a man doing so much for me because they felt like they can tell me what to do. They can put their hands on me and stuff. That's why I'm trying to instill in my little girl and little girls to get your own bag, you know, because when you have your hand out for these men, they feel like they can control your life. And that's what I was always accustomed to. Like, I ain't care if they was fighting me. Like I said, I'm going to get me a bag or they going to always buy me some whatever.
So in a way, do you feel like you were kind of trying to be controlling too by being promiscuous? Like you?
Yeah, I had more control over the situation then because it's like I'm taking my power back. If I give it up, they won't rape me.
Right.
So it's not as harmful to me now because I'm choosing to give you this, and it doesn't hurt me to give it up freely. But when you pin me down and I'm crying and I'm trying to fight and I'm holding my legs and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm crying and you take it from me, that's a scar that it don't never go away.
So many people like that probably just went way, 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 way over so many heads. A lot of things, that like those Oprah stories, Oprah cases we used to call them. Like that, those weren't just like made up things. Like these are things that girls, young women actually went through. And a lot of times when you see somebody that is, in and out of a lot of different relationships or promiscuous or a hoe as, people like to call them, that is actually them trying to have self-control over not being like it not being taken from you. Sometimes it's like, you know what? I already know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go ahead and give it to you. And then it could be that very one who actually wanted to be with you, but you are so like, you got so much baggage and so much hurt. So you don't even believe they really want to be with you.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and give it to them and then you break up with them.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be with you no more. And they're like, what?
Yeah. Self-sabotage.
Yeah, self-sabotage because you are expecting for people to do to you what so many others before them
Right.
have done. Now, there was one more thing in the book, and asked earlier, I was trying to figure out how much I could actually say on here. And then y'all have to go, listen, we touched nothing. It's 8:04. We have gotten into nothing. There is so much in this book you still got to read. It should have been like a 2 or 3 hours. Should have did a whole series, child. Listen, but y'all gonna have to go buy the book and then we'll come back and have a book club meeting or something.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna give y'all all the tea. You gotta go buy the tea. Speaking of, where can they buy the tea?
Well, it's on Amazon, so you can go in there, Spiritual Tea for the Soul. So just type that in on Amazon and you can buy it there. And then I sell them myself. I'm out of them right now. I had to go order some more. So I'll have some soon if you're locally and want to meet me to get them.
How can we contact you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm Becoming Hope, and that's HOEP once again. So just look up Becoming Hope and you can reach out to me that way.
All right, so this before we end, I'm looking at the screen because I am hoping that first of all, I never would have thought that anybody else had ever been through this before, and it kind of blew my mind that you had. You talked in your book, and I don't remember which person that it was, which chapter or whatever, but there was a part in your book where you were with someone and they were performing oral sex on you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I remember you talking about like how they were just so vulgar, like
Ooh.
How much it just hurt.
Oh my God. Lord.
And it not like in my mind until you like said that, like I'm like, oh my gosh, like that really can be a type of abuse. Like people can take something that can be like they can just take everything and just make it so horrible, right? But the fact that you laid there for so long, and if I'm being honest, I have to.
Mhm.
You laid there for so long without just saying, "Yo, what you like stop like like that's too much like that's too much that's too rough that whatever."
Yeah.
Like if there is anybody, women, ladies, you got to know that this body that God gave us belongs to us, right?
Right.
So I don't care if it's your husband, your boyfriend, your link up, like whatever it is, you got to be willing to speak up about your own body, right? Now, if you into that kind of thing, because I know some people are, right? But to let somebody put you in a place of discomfort because maybe they think that's what you like, right? But at which point do you speak up and say, "Wait, what you doing? You know,
Yeah.
wait, what? Like, nah." And then when they don't stop that, then that really becomes a problem. But the initial problem to me comes when you don't at least speak up and say something about it.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Um, I do feel like for Miss Hope, it may have been hard to speak up in that moment, considering what you have been through leading up to then, because maybe you were fearful. But from my perspective, I used to not speak up, but now in my adult age, baby, you got to go. Mm-mm, no, it's not gonna work. We're not gonna do this because I used to allow myself to go through these sexual experiences and think, oh God, just hurry up and get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
Just please come on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping they just pump a little bit faster. I get a little bit louder. I'm like,
Right.
hold on,
Something. Speed it up.
let me come on.
This is gonna get this over with because
Me-
this is not the lick right here.
And that was
Throw my head
oral
against-
sex that she was talking about. And that was my first time having oral sex. So
Wow.
I didn't know what to expect, but it was an older man
Mm.
that did it. And he was like, and he was sucking so, I mean, my God,
Did
I
he
was
forget
so
his-
swollen.
Did he
I
for-
was so swollen. I could not sit down on he had them. And I didn't know what that was. All I know is it hurt so bad, and it didn't hurt as bad while it was happening. It was after the aftermath of what it was.
Like, bro, I hope it's some men out there that are listening that maybe you just don't know that it ain't supposed to feel like that. Is yeah, that's just too much. Like seriously,
Let me.
related,
Unrelated, related, unrelated. I don't know, but I'm gonna say it anyway. As women, I know I said a few minutes ago, scream a little bit louder, throw your head against the headboard, make it over. But sometimes you got to get up and go because sometimes we allow these men to think that they're doing it right.
And they
And-
maybe that's
and-
what it is.
Don't be doing
Seriously.
nothing.
They don't be doing nothing. Ain't even tickling nothing. You know what I'm saying? Sorry. I'm so sorry. But yes. And so, you keep, making these sounds and moving these particular ways, and it makes them think I'm the man.
So
when
like
really
faking.
it's like,
So if you
Yep.
saying faking, like we faking it
Yes.
and
Yep.
we're encouraging them
Yeah.
to keep something going that we don't even want to be a part of no more.
Right.
That needed to be said,
Mhm.
ladies.
Mm-hmm.
At any point, if you don't like, if this ain't where it's at no more, I think we need to be more comfortable with saying, "That's it. Get up," or "I'm gonna get up," and that's it. Let's go. Now, I don't know. Maybe we might come back, do a little teaching, and come back to the table
Something.
later. But as for today, that is it. So that I want you guys, you ladies, everybody, to get more comfortable with. I hope that wasn't too much, but I just wanted to really, really touch on some things that, thanks to this book, Spiritual Tea for the Soul. I don't know. I just really appreciate you. I really appreciate you writing this book and sharing your testimony. You gave out, I told you that I had been working for forever on my book, but it just seems like I write one chapter and then I take 3 months to process it. But before we wrap it up, turn on around. I want to speak to you as somebody who has, like I said, been through so much of what you've been through. And Shamaya can tell you, like when you talk about, you know, lashing out and cursing people out and just being grimy, Shamaya tell you if like my Facebook like it is now is nothing like it used to be. I've thought about going back and trying to delete all the posts I used to put about people because I wanted so much to hurt them. And I wanted to hurt them because they hurt me,
Yeah.
right? But I had to stop allowing them to hurt me. And I had to realize that a lot of times people hurt us because of what we expect from them. You said you expect some people to call you a hoe, right? Just any, you know, willy nilly from the street came and talked to you and called you a hoe, you'd be pissed off a little bit. You might be angered, but you're not going to be hurt. So I need you to understand that people hurt you when you expect them not to hurt you. I don't expect people to love me to hurt me. Sometimes you got to change who you love.
That's right.
You got, and you might not so much change who you love, but you got to separate yourself from some people, even if you love them. You got to stop expecting from people something different when they already been giving you one thing. You know, it's gonna be some people. It's gonna always be hope, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna never be hope with a P.
Right.
It's gonna always be Jackie. It's gonna always be hope. You have to be okay with them thinking that way
From a
because
distance.
you know, yeah, from a distance, you don't got to deal with them,
Right.
right? You got to change your expectations because people hurt us because they ruin our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we put expectations on them that they never even asked for,
That's right.
right? So I want you to just think about not expecting any more from them people than what they already gave you.
That's right.
You can't make other people change. You can't change those people. You can't change the way they think. I don't care what you do, how much you dress it up, your hair cute, body cute. You come on, you're fine. None of that is going to change what they think of you.
That's right.
All right. So you just got to focus on changing you and let them worry about changing them. And if life brings y'all back together one day and you choose to be there, that's fine. But if not, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing, and probably last thing I'm gonna say, because we got to wrap it up. I gotta go to work in the morning. Um, you know, you ain't gonna, no, like them sorries. You already you already worried about no sorries, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, because we don't really care if people tell us sorry, because people tell you sorry for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
not for you. And so you have to forgive, though. You got to forgive all them people that called you a hoe. You got to forgive, all the people that hurt you, all the people that spoke against you, all the people that's speaking against you now. Because if you don't forgive them, then you're still always going to be angry here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order for you to let go of that anger, you just forgive them. And they don't got to tell you sorry. And even if they do tell you sorry, it don't mean you got to be friends with them. Let them go ahead and say they're sorry. It's okay. We good. Go on now.
But I'm not gonna give you another opportunity.
I'm never going to give you another opportunity to put me in that situation again.
That's right. I ain't even mad at you.
That's right.
Go on about your way.
And then the last thing that I wanted to tell you is that living with your dad is an honor.
Yes.
What an honor it is to be able to do for our parents what they did for us. He was your protector. He still is. You're even without his eyesight, he's still your protector. And so I want you to let go of that guilt that you're feeling for him being a parent. Okay? He chose to be your parent. You know, we don't choose our parents, right? He chose to bring you in this world, and here you are. And so he decided to protect his baby girl and that he set out to do. So I want you to let go. I want you to let go of that guilt, baby girl. That guilt, that burden is not yours to carry anymore. Okay? Keep seeing your therapist. That's very important. And keep, using your purpose to shed some light on the rest of the community. Sorry that you had to endure all that you did endure, But I know that it's going, like, I can't wait to see Hope in 3 to 5 years from now. Because, girl, you got a story to tell. And just keep telling Kent who don't want to hear it. People get so tired of me telling the same story all the time. Just keep telling your story. Because it's not for the people that don't want to hear it. It's for the people that God sent to you to hear it. All right. So don't focus on none of those other people. Right. Um, don't make no Facebook posts about nothing, about nobody, not liking, comment, or sharing, or saying nothing bad about you or what they think, because then you take your focus off where it needs to be. Right?
Right.
So you already know you getting yourself ready with the Lord. You already know you're working on your spiritual, connection to the Lord. That's what you need to focus on. Not some people who don't believe you are, because they're gonna see. They're gonna see. So you just keep doing you. Keep staying positive. Stay focused. God got a blessing with your name on it, girl.
And I'm ready for it.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and pray on out of here.
Oh, yes.
All right. All hearts and minds are clear. Father God, in the name of Jesus, God, we want to thank you tonight for bringing us here together. God, we thank you for the women that you brought here and their willingness to share their stories. God, we thank you for the transparency. God, we know that this message was meant for somebody that's out there. And we ain't even worried about it because we already know that you're going to place it where it needs to go. God, you said if you gave us a message that you'll give us an audience. God, I ask that we have walked in your purpose tonight. I ask that we have lived. I hope that we have walked in your purpose and honored your will tonight. God, I want you to continue to bless everybody that sits in here tonight. God, we ask that you touch them and bless them from the crowns of their heads to the soles of their feet. God, we ask that you clear every heart tonight, oh God. God, we ask that you clear every mind tonight, oh God. God, we ask that you release every spirit of anger, every spirit of animosity, every spirit of guilt. God, we ask that you send it back to the gates of hell from which it came. God, we thank and we praise you tonight for healing, complete healing. God, we praise you for mental healing, spiritual healing, physical healing, God, financial healing. God, we know you to be a healer. We know you to be a God of promises. And God, we thank you for every promise tonight. God, we stand in your promise and we stand in your word. God, we ask that you would bless Hope. We ask that you would bless me. We ask that you would bless Shemaiah, and we ask that you would bless Patrick. Right now, in your name, we speak it into existence and we claim it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We love y'all. God bless y'all. Good night.
Bye.